Today we're going to do a quick tour of all the Jersey dolmens where free access is allowed. The structures we're going to see are from the Neolithic period. But what do we mean by Neolithic? Well, Neolithic refers to the New Stone Age, so people who, unlike their nomadic ancestors, are living in settlements. They're making pottery and working with wood and other natural materials. They're physically the same as you and I, although a little shorter due to their restricted diet. These people were less changing to suit their environment and more changing their environment to suit themselves. Now, let's begin. Because all dolmens face east, we may as well start in the east of the island, which leads us to St. Martin's and Le Pucelet de Faldouet. A pucelet is a place where fairies dwell, and dolmens have long been associated with fairies, witchcraft, and all things supernatural. As their original purpose was lost in time, folklore was used to explain the existence of dolmens. Access to the site is via a hawthorn-lined pathway, about 100 metres long. It's even underfoot, but it can get muddy, so best to wear some sensible shoes. The layout and size of the tomb is similar to that of Mont Ube, and it too is thought to date from about 4000 BC, so that's about 6000 years ago. The dolmen is aligned with the solar equinox, so that on Midsummer's Day the rising sun shines directly up the passage and into the main chamber. 3 small side chambers and 2 internal kists formed the edges of the main chamber. The kists had capstones, but it is unlikely that the passage and central areas were ever roofed. The monument is surrounded by dry stone walls and a ring of upright stones. And in case you didn't know what a kist is, it's a small tomb that is basically a ring of stones with a flat stone on top. Excavations have revealed human bones from at least 3 adults and 2 children. Various pottery, flint tools, stone axes and hammers, and also green stone and dolerite pendants have been found on site. This is truly a magical place with wonderful views. But if you're going to visit, remember there's no on-site parking. Well, our time's up here, so let's head north. This is Le Dolmen de Couperon, still in the parish of St. Martin's, but right on the northeast coast. The road to Lasay Harbour is a long, narrow, winding lane that you'll never find by accident, so you'd better get a map. There's a small car park for 6 to 8 cars overlooking the headland, and the dolmen can be found at the top of a small field that borders the parking. The Couperon dolmen dates back to about 2800 BC, or 4800 years ago, and makes this tomb one of the latest or newest in the island. The other unique thing about the structure is that, rather than granite, it's made from the local stone Roselle conglomerate, which has the appearance of coarse concrete. Roselle conglomerate is river or sea-washed stones that were mixed with sediment and then compressed to form the rocky northeast corner of the island. The dolmen is about 8 metres long and was originally covered with an earth mound and is surrounded by a ring of outer stones. The site was first excavated in 1868. By that time the capstones had fallen into the chambers. The excavators lifted these and restored the dolmen to what the workers believed was its original form. In 1919, the porthole stone was moved to its current position at the east end of the chamber. However, current archaeologists believe that originally the porthole stone stood within the chamber, dividing it into 2 segments of equal length, each with its own entrance. The dolmen stands within a few metres of Le Couperon guardhouse, which was built in 1689, and which for more than a century housed a garrison of the Jersey militia manning the nearby battery. If you're travelling by foot, there's a path that leads to the top of the hill above Roselle Bay, and even if dolmens aren't your thing, it's worth coming down here just for the view. So that's the eastern side of the island covered. Now it's time to head west to our friends in St. Juan. This is Les Geonnais, built about 4000 BC, so around 6,000 years ago. It was excavated in 1839 and again in the late 1980s. Over the centuries, this dolmen had been extensively quarried for its stone, so it was in very poor condition. However, once the most recent excavation had taken place, the toppled standing stones were re-erected and the retaining walls were reinstated. Square marker stones dated 1991 were set where the missing original stones would have been. This is one of the more secluded sites that we're visiting today, and to find it, travel along Rue de Geonnais until the road turns into a farm track and there's a bungalow on your left. If you look to the right, you'll see an overgrown field and you'll find the dolmen sheltering behind the scrubby gorse. There's no official parking here, but the chances of anyone else turning up are remote indeed. Staying in St. Ouen, we're now heading to Mont Grantez. This dolmen is in a field, and the access is via a stile in the granite wall. There are often sheep or cattle grazing the field, so bear this in mind. Don't make too much noise, and if you have a dog, it most certainly must be kept on a lead. The tomb itself is about 300 metres from the field entrance. The soil here is sandy, so it's never muddy, but watch where you're walking, as rabbits tend to dig holes. If an estate agent were to describe this dolmen, they'd probably call it compact, bijou, and with a safe enclosed garden. Access to the dolmen itself is again via some granite steps or stile built into the wall. The dolmen was rediscovered in 1839 and excavated in 1912. It's thought to date back to 4000 BC, and when it was excavated, the skeletons of 6 adults and a child were found. There were limpet shells, along with the teeth and bones of cows, horses, pigs, sheep, and even deer. As well as the human and animal remains that the archaeologists discovered, there were some bowls and broken pottery, various flint tools, stone tools, and a particularly fine flint pick. Although all the structures we're looking at today are referred to as passage graves, they are not graves in the sense that we know them today, but they were more likely a repository for the bones so that people could revere their ancestors, as many cultures have done throughout the millennia. Well, that's 4 down, but there's still more to see, so time to head south. This is Les Blanche Banques, or the Sand Dunes as it's better known. A little bit of a cheat here, not a passage grave, but standing stones from the same era. There may well have been more Neolithic structures here in the past, but today 3 remain. Here we see the Little Menhir, and 100 metres to the north we find the ossuary. This might look like the entrance to a small passage grave, but it is in fact a kist, a single grave. And just a few metres away is the broken menhir. This was excavated and re-erected in 1922. These stones are all in the parish of St. Brelade, and so is our next port of call. This is the Sergente. It's the oldest structure that we'll be looking at today, dating back to about 4500 BC. It's on the headland between Petit Port and Le Poulent, overlooking both Corbière and St. Ouen Bay. It's quite different from anything else we'll see today, and is what is referred to as a beehive hut. Originally, it had a vaulted stone roof, so if you think of a stone igloo, you'll get the basic idea. It's just over 3 metres across, and tombs similar to this can be found in both Normandy and Brittany. It's only a few metres from the main track, but few people ever notice it. Access is via footpaths from either side of the headland, or if you're driving you can park close by once you've found your way through what appears to be a private residential estate. And now it's time to head for St Helier. This is Ville Nouvaux and can be found in St Andrew's Park at First Tower. These are probably the most overlooked Neolithic tombs in Jersey. They're in a public park just a few metres from one of the busiest roads in the island, and yet most people don't even know they're here. Ville Nouvaux comprises of two structures, a large kist and a passage grave. The tombs were hidden by sand dunes and were rediscovered in 1869 by quarrymen looking for stone. The site dates back to about 2800 BC, 4,800 years ago, so is later than most of the other known passage graves. The area was excavated in 1883, and as well as pottery artefacts from the Neolithic era, 14 burial urns from the late Bronze Age were also found. That's about 800 BC. Access to these dolmens couldn't be easier. They're right alongside St Andrew's Church in St Andrew's Park, not 100 metres from the inner road, and there's even parking nearby. But if it's too much effort to visit these dolmens, wait till you see the last one in St Clement. This is Mont Ube. Of all the sites we visited today, Mont Ube is the most physically demanding. Access is up through woods from La Rue de la Blinerie, just behind Sumray Manor, and it's a fair old climb. The tomb was rediscovered in 1848 by quarrymen who broke up all the capstones and most of the internal stones for building material. What was left of the structure was later used as a rubbish dump and also a pigsty. The site dates back between 5,500 and 6,000 years, and despite its ill treatment, Mont Ube is quite an impressive dolmen. The remaining upright stones are enormous, and one can still see the grandeur that its builders intended. The usual mix of pottery, flint and stone tools were discovered, as well as some polished stone pendants. And that brings us to the end of this odyssey. I hope you've enjoyed us just scratching the surface of our Neolithic past. I'm Richard, and this video has been brought to you by Jersey, a Guide.